3, 2, 1. San Francisco's playing the Nationals. All right. 3, 2, 1. Hi guys, it's Rachel Guest here, your resident tough cookie, and today we're going to talk about the 2 races I just did the past 2 weekends. One of them was the Mountains to Beach Marathon that's in Ojai, California, and then the other is the San Diego Rock and Roll Marathon, Half Marathon, 5K, and 10K. Both of these instances, I ran both full marathons, and both of them kind of have their pros and cons. So if you're thinking about running a race in the Southern California area, here are some inputs about what I thought about them. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to talk about is the Mountains to Beach Marathon, which is in Ojai, California. You start in Ojai and you run through neighborhoods, mountains, basically through backyards of people's homes, and you run to the beach in Ventura. It is by far one of the most beautiful marathons that I have run. I haven't really run a lot of marathons outside of California, so this is just my personal opinion from what I've ran, and I've been running marathons I think since 2012, 2013, so I haven't been running very long, but it's a race that I think about on a daily basis. I like to think of it as a runner's run. I've done this course twice, one in 2017 and then 2018. It is very much, I don't want to say that if you haven't ran a race before that you shouldn't do it. I think you should go try every race you can, but it really is kind of a runner's run. You kind of have to know your routine. You kind of have to be know how your body's going to respond. You definitely have to train for this, and I say that because it is not only a Boston qualifier race, meaning that it is very flat. I kind of relate the course to, say you go to an opera and there are in the first 2 acts, there's so many beautiful falsettos and sopranos and altos, and you go through all these beautiful changes in the music, and it's just visually so stunning. And then the next 3rd and 4th act, it's nothing but one note. And I'm not saying that as a downplay, but for me, in my training schedule, I live in the Glendale, Pasadena area in California, so I train in a lot of hilly areas. Even some of my flat runs, there is a slight incline. So running not only on a flat surface, in my case, for about 2.5 hours, your body starts to freak out a little bit. And this race, I don't think my legs have ever been that sore afterwards. It's a constant one-note run, and if you aren't holding your form correctly, which I'm pretty sure I didn't, you have a very high chance of injuring yourself since you're making the same movements over and over again. There aren't a lot of hills, there aren't a lot of declines for you to adjust your gait, for you to recover, because believe it or not, hills are very welcome in marathons. It's able for you to kind of recover, to kind of slow down. It's basically 26 miles of you pushing the hardest you can. And if you're not prepared for that, which I don't believe I was this year, believe it or not, you tend to get a little bit frustrated. Also, I live near the ocean, but I don't train near the ocean. I train more in the mountains, so running by the ocean is a little bit different. It's stunningly beautiful, but the temperature change and humidity, if you're sweating at all, if you're a big sweater like I am, all of your sweat immediately dries up because of the wind, because of the temperature drop, and things start to get uncomfortable. I'm talking about chafing. Things didn't get uncomfortable for any place except for my shoulders and my back. I do run with water packs. That was kind of unfortunate. I didn't really remember or prepare for that. But one of the pros of it is that a lot of people do qualify for Boston since it is such a flat course. It is a very cheap, I don't want to say cheap, like, oh yeah, it's just $5, but it's more inexpensive than a lot of other races. I found out about this race through word of mouth. Unless you're on active.com, I believe, every day, and you're actively looking for a race, I found out about this race through word of mouth from people who've done it before. And it is a very small race. There are only about, I think the cutoff for the marathon is about 300 runners. It's pretty intimate. It's pretty awesome. I mean, if you've never ran a race before and you're with somebody that has ran this particular course before, I think it's a great thing to do, because they're going to be there and they're going to tell you exactly what to do, exactly what you're going to see with any marathon. But it's really something special because there's not all that pomp and circumstance of, say, a Rock and Roll or an LA Marathon or the DC or San Francisco Marathon. It's so small. You're basically just there to run. And I like it because I'm a little bit slower than a lot of the Boston qualifier runners. So a lot of the time I'm running by myself, and I'm running in these gorgeous conditions. The weather is stunningly beautiful. The cons of that race has to be what the pros are. It's very flat. The weather is a little bit different. It changes very drastically from the first 13 miles to the last 13 miles. The time limit, instead of having 8 or 7 hours, you only have 6 hours to run the entire course. And if you are not by mile 23 by a certain time, you don't get to finish the race. And there is, since it is a runner's race, your support is basically you. There are people out there that are there to encourage you and to help you run, but you got to get through it yourself. There are a lot of times where you will not see a water tent or people cheering you on for about 4 or 5 miles. At least it might seem like 4 or 5 miles. They have medics that run up and down the course, but you're pretty much on your own. So you really do have to be prepared for your wall that you hit, or for pretty much anything. So Mountains to Beach pros, runners run, small, cheap, absolutely stunning. The weather, it is super close to home for me. It's something I can drive to. The cons are like the pros: the course, the weather, the time limit, and the support. I think it's something that if you have never ran a marathon before, I think you should probably start with this one. Unless you know the course. It's always a good practice to look at the course before you run it, and no surprises. Unlike the completely opposite San Diego Rock and Roll Marathon I did the next weekend. Again, it's located by the beach. It is close to home for me. The train ride down there, it takes about 3 hours, is gorgeous. I mean, except once you get out of LA, it's stunning. You don't really have to do anything. The train drops you off right in the middle of Gaslamp Quarter where I stay, so there's no real need to have a car. You can get around that city very easily. So the pros to that is that it's very close to home. The city itself, I'm from Northern California. San Francisco will always have a special place in my heart, but San Diego is an awesome town. I love it. So right there, it's already got my vote. The people and the support in that community for the marathon, they literally could be doing anything else. They could, quite frankly, go on vacation and leave San Diego for that weekend. But what I saw on that course were people who were there for you. They were there to support you. I actually got very emotional thinking that when I was running, especially there's a fallen soldiers course, I think around mile 6 or 7, where people come out, since there's an army base close by, army or naval, there's a base close by, so a lot of family members that are in active duty stay in this area. I think it's up near Norpark. Once you run out of the city and you get into the residential areas, their homes are stunningly beautiful, but the people that come out there are not only there to support you, they're there to support each other. I saw people having breakfast out in their front lawn, like with these huge tables out. I saw neighbors that brought out bars. They were offering water, food, drinks. People were opening up their homes if anyone needed to use the restroom, and the porta potties were being overflowed. There was so much support, and in my mind, love. At least that's what I was feeling. They just embraced this race, and I'm not saying that other towns don't, but I am saying that for me, this city holds a special place in my heart. So I got very emotional. I did cry a little bit, I did yell at somebody, "Thank you so much for letting us run on your streets," and they looked at me like I was crazy. But it's just such a powerful thing for me. So the pros for that are the people, the city, the course. The course is a beast. It's probably one of the hardest courses that I have ran so far. Again, I have not run every race, but I was not prepared 3 years ago when I ran it in 2016. I was not, someone kept telling me, oh, there's hills, which I was like, great, that's what I trained in. I love them. Awesome, let's do it. I was not prepared for mile 22 when they kind of just send you out onto the freeway leading back into Gaslamp. So this time I was a little bit more prepared, and I chose to walk that instead of trying to break my booty and run up it. So I ran it out of mindfulness, not out of because I was dying. So that part for me was awesome. It was like, it's kind of surreal. You start in Balboa Park, you run through Noor Park, you run all the way somewhat to the beach, you run back through a residential area, you run right next to the beach, and then you come back through, the downtown area, and then you run on the freeway back into Gaslamp Quarter where the finish line is. And I really enjoy that because I like hills as my recovery. It changes your gait, it changes your stance, it gives you something else to focus on instead of just going straight. For me, I like that. It's challenging. It gives me something else to think about. I also love that course because there are little mini, running a marathon or running any race is you've already won. You're already on that course. You've already been doing your best. It's phenomenal. It's a great achievement. But there are tiny little achievements that you can kick everyone's ass at on that course. There's so many hills at the beginning, in the middle, and the end that you can kind of be like, all right, I did that. What's the next thing? And just kind of keep pushing. There are times where I can see that people can hit their wall, and I hit my wall a little bit early in the race, which was weird. For me, I hit it more near the ocean and where it was the most flat. So I kind of had to kick my own ass and be like, all right, you've got more to work to do, which actually helped me propel and keep going. So that's the cons of it. The pros, again, is the course. The cons are the course. The course, again, like I said, is a beast. You need to be prepared. Take a look at the map. If you decide to do it next year, please look up the map. Look at where you want to take your breaks. The other con that I don't think people realize is that there's a lot of downtime before the race. In this instance, I was able to be right by the start and finish line, so I didn't have to take a shuttle anywhere. So I was able to sleep in later than I would normally get up for a marathon. So I did all my morning routine, and then I walked to the start line. And even with me being a mile away from the start line in that 10-15 minute walk, I still was waiting around for another hour and a half. I mean, that's kind of what you want to do. Basically, in that time, you're eating and finding a bathroom. Those are the two things you're doing, and you're warming up. But the other con of that race is, since there are, I think it was roughly 20,000 people that run it, since you're not running in an open field, you're running in a neighborhood, they need to start each corral with a wave start. And what a wave start is each corral, since they have 32 corrals, needs to wait at least a minute to 2 minutes in between their start. If you have a specific corral, in my instance, it was corral 21, you are waiting a good hour after the 6:15 gun goes off. So you can spend all your time warming up, all your time eating, all your time finding a bathroom, but once you get in that corral, they don't let anyone out. And you shouldn't be getting in and out of that corral. So it's cool to find a buddy to talk to. It's cool to bring a book. I don't like to be on my phone because I want to save my phone, since it's going to take me about 4 or 5 hours to complete this marathon. I want my battery to last as long as it can. But also, with that being a con, I got to connect with so many awesome people. The price is also kind of a con. I highly recommend doing, if you haven't gotten a tour pass, Rock and Roll Marathon Series offers a tour pass for a flat fee, and you get to pick 3 races. I think it's a flat fee for 3 races or 10 races. And you can pick any of them in, I believe, the state that you live in, or any rock and roll race. If you don't get pre-sale, the races can get a little expensive, but they do offer insurance. So if for some reason you get sick or you can't do it, if something work-related comes up, but a lot of the times, a lot of people give them that money, which can be $200. For being such a free sport, it gets really expensive. So the con about that race is that the price is a little high. But if you're committed, if you're able to go, if you get the insurance, if you get pre-sale, I highly recommend doing this race. If anything, the half marathon is just as fun as the full. Yeah. So those are my experiences. Again, I talked a little bit more about one race than the other. Not to say that the Mountains to Beach Marathon wasn't awesome. San Diego is just such a great city, and I look at the photos from the Mountains to Beach Marathon and I compare them to the photos from the San Diego Marathon, and it just seems like there is just this different energy, and it always can be. Someone once told me you can practice and train everything correctly in the months leading up to your marathon, but if something is off, then a PR is out of grasp. Fortunately for me, I was able to PR both courses, not PR my overall marathon time, but for both courses. I think I was in a different mindset for both of them, so that helped. But as always, it's always amazing to be running, to be out there, to be happy, to be healthy, to be around other people who love doing the same thing you're doing. And it's so beautiful. I hope you get the chance to experience it. If you have any questions, and I hope you do, if you have any questions on any of the races that I talked about here today, please do not hesitate to ask. Feel free to email me, call me, text me, come do a class, come ask me afterwards. Yeah, let's go out there and run a race. Remember, to be tougher, to be stronger, to be better, to be a tough cookie. And I look forward to chatting with you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.